Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to yet another exciting high school launch. So for this launch, for those who don't already know, we're going to be showing off our new Mimic Career Readiness simulation. My name is Andy Emelkamp. I'm an assistant product marketing manager here. All y'all probably know me, have seen my annoying emails, but we're coming to you from Idaho Falls. So I already see people typing in the chat. Feel free to type in where you're coming from. I see Louisiana, Ohio, California. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Texas, here to represent. New Hampshire, Missouri, Wisconsin, Maine, some Colorado, Kentucky, Miami, more Texas. Awesome to see. Iowa. And also feel free to type in the chat if you've been to one of these webinars before. As I'm sure most of you are aware, we've been hosting a lot of these recently, a lot of new exciting simulations. We had our sports marketing one come out, our entrepreneurship one come out. We have this career readiness. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have a public speaking launch for a new public speaking simulation, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in this webinar. But for those who aren't aware and maybe who haven't attended a StuCan event before, the chat is open. Feel free to type whatever you want, any questions you have. Kind of during the event, if you do have a question, just go ahead and type it in. I'm going to collect them all, and at the end, we'll do a little Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer as many as we can. But if we don't, I'll see if we'll reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help out. Kind of how this outline is, again, if you've attended one of these recently, it's going to kind of follow the same format. We're going to have one of our own, Joseph Ovard, come on, walk us through the whole simulation, show us all its features, all the cool things your students are going to learn, all the engaging activities and such. And then afterward, we'll do a little Q&A, explain to you guys how you can actually get the simulation and kind of steps from there. Also, feel free to tune in towards the end. We're going to give away out a free kind of LinkedIn assignment that you guys can use in your classrooms. It's just another thing to help your students prepare for their future careers and prepare for college. And so the assignment kind of walks them through best practices with LinkedIn and is a handout that you guys can use for a class period. So if you stay till the end of that, then you will get that for free. One last thing, we're doing some giveaways like in the past events. We're giving away 2 Yeti water bottles. And so all you have to do is be here in attendance and engage a little bit in the chat. And then for the next 3 weeks, the first 20 people who attend a demo of Mimic Career Readiness will get a $20 Amazon, Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts gift card. And then, like I said, we're giving away a free assignment. So we'll go ahead, get right into this. I don't assume this will take the full hour, depending on how many questions y'all have. So let us know. But also, as I'm going to have Joseph come on and explain it to you, but as he's coming on, I am going to go ahead and post in the chat the landing page for the simulation as well. But we'll give it away to Joseph.
All right, wonderful. Let me share my screen real quick, and we will jump right into the simulation itself. So the Mimic Career Readiness simulation is really exciting. There's I'm going to explain like the whole storyline, what students will be doing. What's really cool is that throughout the whole simulation, they're going to be working on their own resumes, their own kind of career readiness, and everything from reaching out to people for references and developing their own, kind of resumes and determining what their skill sets are and analyzing job descriptions and all that kind of stuff. So there's some really cool stuff. Jumping right into it, for those of you that aren't from all that familiar with the StuCan simulations and the format, I'll do some extra explaining as I go. If there's anybody that is familiar, I'm just going to kind of walk through the introduction round and how it all works. So when students log in and go into the simulation, this is the first thing that they're going to see when they first log in to Mimic Career Readiness. Very first thing, a quick little 2-minute welcome video. It's basically a student walkthrough, just kind of showing them how the navigation works, and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing that they'll have is a video and a description of all the things that they're going to be doing. It explains to the students right off the bat that in the simulation, they're going to take on the role of someone called Taylor Williams. She's at her university's career center. She's trying to get a job, land a job after graduation. So she's about to graduate. She's doing some pre-work to kind of get that job lined up before she actually graduates. Which is something I highly recommend. I know your students are you're still high school students. I know that there are a lot of high school students out there, myself included, that got a job out of high school and didn't go right to college right away. I did later on, but there's a lot of I know high school students out there that could really benefit from a simulation like this to kind of get them ready for their career. In this simulation, Taylor's going for more of like a marketing position, but your students might go into the trades or whatever, and not go to traditional university or whatever, and go to a career center and things like that. But what's really cool about this simulation is that as they're kind of playing the simulation and helping Taylor out, they're doing similar activities, but for themselves, and actually typing things out, and it's really cool. And you as the teacher can see and grade and all that kind of stuff, those submissions as well. So and I'll kind of explain as we go down through the introduction round, but students will be able to see right off the bat during this simulation, here's what you're going to do. You're going to look for references and craft messages to people to ask for references. You're going to dissect job descriptions and apply results to job search activities, things like that. Create resumes and cover messages. And one of the really cool things, we'll get into this starting in round 4, where they're actually going to do like a mock interview, and they're going to do a real interview, or they're going to have a personal pitch, all sorts of stuff. And one of the cool things, one of the newer features that we have in our simulations is peer and self reviews of the videos that they record. So they'll actually record and submit videos and take part in like live interactive simulated chat rooms, or kind of like a Zoom call job interview as well. So I'll show you what that looks like and how all that works. It's a lot of fun. So that's the overview tab. Students will watch the video. The students that like to read will be able to read what they're actually going to be doing in the simulation before they jump into it. Each round of the simulation, they'll have an inbox where they'll get memos and more information on the round from, normally it's their supervisor. Here it's Simone from the University Career Center. It's a made-up university, Snake River University, that we kind of made up for our simulation. For those of you that don't know, we live in Idaho Falls, and the Snake River runs right through Idaho Falls. But there is no Snake River University in real life. So, that's the university that Taylor goes to. So we'll be getting video introductions in future rounds from this Career Center advisor. So first thing the students are going to do, and this is important, and you'll see why very soon, is they're going to learn about Taylor. So Taylor is who they're going to be in the simulation, and talking to her career coach and basically taking her skills and finding a job that's right for her, doing the interview for her, things like that. But at the same time, they'll be doing those same activities for themselves. So there's a lot of information about Taylor. You got her biography and her background, her schooling, and all sorts of information on things that she's accomplished. Her interests, her hobbies, all the stuff that she needs to build her resume. This will be visible to them throughout the simulation. This is just where they can really kind of dive in and learn as much about Taylor as they can. Now, that being said, every round of the simulation, after they complete all their other objectives, they will have a career readiness journal to fill out. And it explains to them at every time they're doing a task for Taylor, they'll also be doing it for themselves. When they're trying to secure references for Taylor, they're thinking first, all right, here's Taylor's skill sets, and here's her past references, here's how she can. So the reason we do it this way, instead of just doing it for themselves, a lot of students are lost without an example of what they're supposed to be doing. And so they help Taylor out as kind of an example. Say, hey, Taylor has these skills. And then it lets them think, okay, well, what skills do I have? And they can do that for themselves. These are the people that Taylor knows previous employers, colleagues, friends, even her uncle, things like that. And then it gets the student thinking, well, I could talk to this person or that person and ask them for a reference and things that, so it kind of helps them along as they're helping Taylor. Now they know how to help themselves and actually create their own resumes. They get their own references from their own personal network. They analyze job descriptions for Taylor, and then they get to go and look for job descriptions for themselves. So everything that they're doing for Taylor, they do for themselves. So the only thing they're not doing is at the very end, preparing for a job. That's something that they'll go and do on their own, not as part of the simulation. So that's the introduction round. It really kind of introduces students to the storyline and what they're going to be doing and things like that. Every student will go through the introduction round. They can just click Get Started Now without clicking on all of these. But it's all the information that's very helpful as they get started. So if we click Get Started Now, it'll take us right to round one. And it will tell them if they don't go through all the tabs, it will tell them, hey, you haven't done this tab yet. Are you sure you want to move on? It will let them move on, but it will give them a warning saying, hey, you haven't quite done everything for the round yet. So starting with round one, now Mimic Career Readiness has 6 rounds. I'm just going to kind of give you guys a quick overview of what each round is, what the results look like after the student completes the round, and how you can view that as an instructor as well. So the very first thing is we get a note from our career coach. This is the career coach from the university career office. She'll give us a little welcome message each week. They're usually only between a minute or 2 minutes at most. Little video message. It's basically just kind of a brief explanation of what they're going to be doing this week. She talks about references and crafting emails to ask for those references and things like that. So they'll watch that video, and then it'll line out their tasks for each week. They'll have Taylor's tasks, and they'll have their own career readiness journal. So each round of the simulation, just like I said before, they will have an inbox and also a notifications hub. So they'll actually be talking to classmates and other people who need help with kind of career readiness questions. And then they'll look for references, request emails. So really quick for those who are unfamiliar, just overall navigation of the actual simulation. So as an instructor, since I'm in my instructor account, but I'm previewing the student view, I have the ability to jump around to whatever round I want. So students have to use either this left-hand navigation or the continue and back buttons at the bottom that does the same thing. You as the instructor, if you go in and preview the course for yourself, you want to preview the simulation before your course actually starts with your students so that you're a little bit more familiar, you know what they're going to be doing. You can do that, and you can jump around without completing everything the students need to complete, just getting an understanding of it. You can jump around to any round that you want, which I'll do it at certain points because I've already have results for all the different rounds as well. Also, as a student, once they are in future rounds, like if I was in round 3 and I wanted to go back and look at my results from round 1, I can look at my results from any round that I want and see all the work that I did for that round. But I can't jump around to different rounds like you can as an instructor. So this is something that you can do as the instructor, is jump around to different rounds. Your students don't have that function. Just so everybody's aware. You might see me use that a couple of times as I'm showing you things. So each round, the students will have a scenario video to watch and a little bit of information, and they'll have an inbox. And so the inbox is the more detailed instructions. The scenario tab, the video will just kind of mention something. This will actually outline what the students need to do in more detail. They'll have past emails in there. This is the email from the introduction round. They can go back and read previous emails if they want. It talks to them about the notifications hub, how to find people that could give them references, and it gives them some guidance on how to write those request emails. So the students are going to be looking for Taylor and then looking in their own network and thinking, all right, who can I ask for references and go that way. But it gives them some real good guidance on how to write those request emails. And in the notifications hub, they're going to get questions from different people asking different questions. Students will then answer it, and they'll get initial feedback saying, no, that's not exactly right. Or they'll get one saying, no, that's incorrect. So there's kind of 3 levels of answers. There's going to be a really good answer, a not quite right answer, and a no, that's flat out wrong kind of answer. And they'll select from those answers and get different responses depending on that. Now, this part of the simulation isn't automatically scored. This is basically a knowledge check. It'll just kind of give them that instant feedback on how well they answered a question, and sometimes give them guidance on how to kind of improve their knowledge. So it's just kind of a knowledge check. It doesn't really give them any difference in their score of the simulation. So the references. So now we move on to the other activities. So like I said, every round they'll have a scenario, an inbox, and the notifications hub, and the questions to answer in the notifications hub. So now we're looking for references. So it will give them step-by-step instructions every single time they start an activity. Step 1, review Taylor's information. It'll tell you in your resources down here, use this to identify ideal references. So she can, because it talks about her work history and her schooling and things like that, her education, her awards, different people, things like that. There's motivation and influences, comments from professional acquaintances, so something that former supervisors have said about her, things like that. So we're going to review her information. We're going to analyze the reference options and then select the references. So there's 2. So there's select one reference and select a second reference. So for this one, I chose a colleague at CareBeat, which is the company she used to work at, and then a supervisor at a fitness club she used to work at as well. So a colleague and a former employer are the ones that I picked for her. So it'll give a little bit of information on there. There's a lot to choose from. There's an uncle, there's a friend, there's another colleague, there's a main contact at Teton Valley Vet Clinic, offered to hire Taylor as a contract marketer, things like that. So there's a little bit of some different strategies that you can use to kind of decide which ones would be the best fit for her references. And then that'll kind of open your students' minds a little bit and say, all right, well, here's some people that I could talk to as a reference, a professional reference, maybe a personal reference, could be a friend or a family member or something like that, or a colleague, things of that nature. So now we're actually going to draft the request emails. So again, it says review the information, review the profiles, the references profiles. So review their profile, kind of how do I know them, that because that will kind of change how they write the letter a little bit depending on who the reference is. And then they're going to actually create the request email. So when they're helping Taylor out, they're given options to choose from. So they click on a segment and they can choose from different openings in which one they think would be best. And then on throughout the body, the closing, all of that, they make selections. So once they're done with that, and they'll do that for both references that they chose. And then in their career readiness journal, they're going to identify potential references, look at their own network and identify 3 potential references. So the students are supposed to find 3 out of their own personal network. Keep in mind, an ideal reference is not a friend or family member. It should be like a colleague or a former employer, things like that. Now, below each reference's name and position, craft a request email tailored to the given potential reference. So, and then it gives you, again, a reminder. Here's some tips on how to write the opening, the body, the closing, things like that. So, and I just wrote some examples here. Students will write it, they'll click submit, and it'll say, "You sure you want to submit?" Click OK, and they'll get a little thing up here that says successfully submitted. So I did this for all 3 of them and submitted them. I clicked run simulation. I'm not going to do it again and make it recalculate. And students, after they finish a round and they go on to round 2, let's say, they can go back and they can look at their results from that first round. So if I look back, my first reference, that was a great one. It's a great, and it will give them individualized feedback for each one. So this was a great reference, that first reference. and it says it's a great reference for Taylor, good choice, and then it tells them why. And this one was okay. It's a good option, but another reference could add variety, and it'll give them kind of reasons why it wasn't the best option for a reference. But so they'll get scored on that part, and on the request email. So it wasn't the best opening, had a good body, good closing. So they'll get color coded feedback on whether they did good, did okay, or did not great. It'll be red if it was really bad. And for each choice, they'll get individualized feedback on why that was either a good, an okay, or a poor choice. So students really start to learn, okay, if I am writing to this kind of person, I don't want to write it like this, and here's why. So they really get that individualized feedback for each choice they make throughout the simulation. And then the request email for this one was perfect. I did all the right choices. And then you as the instructor can see all of this. So students can review their results, and you can review their results and read their actual submissions for their journal as well. Now, keep in mind the Career Readiness Journal, they'll get points for, a couple of points each or something like that for completing it. If you want to grade them on their grammar, on how well it was written, things like that, you will have to grade that manually. As far as like how well it was written, the what we're grading on is whether or not they actually completed the assignment, if that makes sense. So the automated score for in the simulation will be a little bit different if you want to grade separately for how well they drafted up theirs. So again, as a student, for any rounds I completed, I can go and look at the feedback for those rounds. But let's keep going. So round 2 is we're analyzing job descriptions. Once again, I'll kind of skip over the next little parts, the scenario, inbox, notifications hub. We've already talked about those. I think once we get to round 4, I've got some empty notifications hubs. I can show you what that looks like when they're making the selections. So jumping ahead to the different job descriptions. So again, review Taylor's information, because now they were looking before for references. So now they can look at it and say, well, what kind of job is she suited for? Like, is she looking for, she was a marketing specialist internship at this company, all that kind of stuff. So, university courses, mobile marketing, marketing analytics, supply chain, so you can kind of see what she studied, especially what she thinks her skills are, very marketing focused, things like that. The goals that she has, all that kind of stuff. So now we're kind of looking at it from the viewpoint of what jobs is she best suited for, what is she looking for, that kind of thing. So now we're going to look at different jobs and what the required experience is, and then decide which job she wants to go for. So they can get a real kind of basic overview. They can actually download a full description. If they click on this, it'll open it up in a different tab. They can actually download it or just view it in their browser. It's totally up to them, up to the student. And then it shows them how many years of experience they need for each position. So if there's a senior product marketing manager, they want a bachelor's degree plus 4 years of experience. It's probably not the best job for her to apply for. This one is college degree preferred with 1 year of experience. This one's 0 to 1 years of experience. And it'll give them different salary ranges. They can download that full description. And then they're actually going to make those selections on which jobs that she should apply for. So, and then we're going to come up with a summary of qualifications. So again, looking at Taylor's information and our resources, we're going to review. So basically she is applying for a job at Bowie. So review the Bowie job description, because we got that, and I kind of skipped over it. We got that in our inbox, the job description right here. And it will show up in our resources. So here's the assistant marketing manager job description at Bowie Supply Co. So she's got this job description. Here's all the requirements. So they're going to review her information and this job description. And now she's actually going to say, all right, to land an interview at this job, I need to be able to make sure that I'm crafting this letter the right way. So she puts in there, it's always a good idea to put like the metrics that she improved and things like that. And then again, for their own career readiness journal, they're going to go in and find 3 job ads that match your skills, experience and career goals. Go do an online search to find, some job ads, and then really look at it, analyze it, looking for ways that your skills and accomplishment would offer value in those roles. And so they're actually doing this in the real world. And they're going to do that for 3 different jobs. And they're given like kind of a format saying, for job qualification number 1, here's how I qualify for this job, this and that, and just kind of go through as they dissect it, and they'll do that for 3 different ads that they find for different jobs. So let's jump ahead to round 3, and now they're actually creating a resume and cover message. So a common question we get for these simulations is, how long do the students, are they in the simulation? It really depends on how long it takes them to do. I think the career readiness journal could take a lot more time to really help the student finalize that stuff, more than helping Taylor. I mean, helping Taylor could take some time, even a full class period to do a round sometimes for Taylor's tasks. But for their tasks, if they're actually drafting up a whole resume, it could take up a little bit more time. So as you're kind of creating your lesson plans, if you want to implement this, you'll want to kind of plan for, and another reason why it's good for you to kind of go in, maybe do some of this stuff and determine how long you want to give your students to finish some of the projects in the simulation. You can give them a couple of weeks to finish a round. If you've got this is part of a class that's a semester long, you can kind of stretch it out and have them really kind of build up their own resumes by the end of mid-semester, and then they're actually doing mock interviews by the end of the semester as well. So again, scenario, inbox, notifications hub, each round. Now they're actually helping Taylor build her resume. So again, looking at Taylor's information and the job description, we're actually going to research Bowie Supply Co. a little bit. There's a little bit more information in the inbox and the resources, and then they're actually going to create a resume. So in the resources, they got Taylor's information, and they've got the job description and an About Bowie document as well. Their core values, their mission and goals. She has core values, and you could see how her core values match up with Bowie's, all that kind of stuff. And so there's a whole big long About Bowie section, and all that going on here. So I'm going to review all of that and actually create a resume for Taylor based on her experience and all the information that she's gathered. And once they do that and they kind of see, the format where they've got qualifications, education, professional experience, different jobs she's held, some specific achievements she wants to highlight for her resume, and then her cover message, it gives them, here's some steps you'll want as you write your cover message. They're going to have an open, gain their attention, draw some parallels. And this part is especially important. Explain how her background and abilities correspond to the requirements of the position and show proof of her abilities. So things that she's accomplished in the past that really closely align with what Bowie's looking for. And then motivate action, ask for that interview, and then how to close that message. So again, they're kind of given those steps and how to do it before they go in and create their own resume and their own cover message, and how they're and do that for themselves as well. So, and again, for each round, they'll get personalized feedback on things they did well, things they did okay, the cover message for both resume and cover message, and then you and the student can both look and review their submissions for their journal as well. Now, rounds 4, 5, and 6 is where we get to really show off some cool new features that we have in the simulation. In rounds 4, they're preparing for an interview. Oh, that's the results. I clicked on the wrong thing. Here we go. So we're preparing for an interview. So we have a mock interview. Now they'll be introduced to this in the scenario video when they read the inbox. It says, "Hey, you're preparing for an interview. Here's your assignments for this week," and then a note saying you've been selected for an interview at Bowie from a hiring manager. So after we answer messages in the notification sub, that's right, I was going to show you this. So if we get a message here's a message from Joseph, he's going to ask a question. I'm going to select the best response. And when I submit or I send, it'll give me, she'll reply and it'll be, not necessarily. So that's what that interaction looks like when it's, before it's done. So this is really cool. I'm hoping this comes across well in the webinar platform on how these mock interviews are done. So so there's two different things the students do. They're going to do a video call where they're actually interacting with like the hiring manager, and they're also going to be actually doing like pitches where they're trying to sell themselves and things like that as well. So if we join the video call, so we're in the waiting room right now. So I'm going to enter the call. Shiloh is in the call. So this is the mock interview. This is from a helper in the Career Center is helping you go through a mock interview. So we enter the call, and he'll talk to us.
Hi, Taylor. Simone told me great things about you. It's good to meet you. I'm Shiloh, your student advisor, and I'll conduct your mock interview. During this interview, I'm going to act as a hiring manager at Bowie. I will probably ask more questions than you can expect to field during an actual interview. But this is intentional. It will provide plenty of opportunities for you to practice responding. I will also offer feedback after each of your responses, which will help you prepare for future interviews. For now, all you need to do is respond to each question. Once this interview is over, you will prepare a list of questions to ask during your actual interview with Bowie. With that, let's start.
Okay, everybody could hear that, right? Let me know in the chat if you could hear that. So we weren't just sitting here for too long. Okay, perfect. So they're actually going to be, so you can say, sounds great. And then you can go back and replay that recent video, have him repeat what he said. So this is the mock interview. Like he said, they'll get specific feedback as they play through. They click on a response, they click submit, and it'll carry on through a whole conversation, and they'll actually do a mock interview. And then when they're done, they can leave the call. And it'll go back. So, and then it'll say, hey, this was completed with Shiloh on this date. And they'll get that right there. And then it talks about questions to ask. So select questions to ask during the interview. So they actually get to go and decide, they can ask, hey, how flexible are the hours? How much am I going to be paid? Or, they can ask more better questions to help them secure the job. So this again it's a graded interaction. So it just is my screen frozen, or can everybody still see that? Okay, perfect. Once they select what questions they're going to ask, then again, they're going to go to the Career Readiness Journal. And this one is review interview best practices. So we're going to actually respond to possible interview questions and actually write out a written response. And so they'll go and they'll write out the response. Here's another question too. Then they'll write out their response. You can set expectations for your students on how long the response should be. They don't have to be full paragraphs. I just copied some text in there just to kind of show you what it would look like. But it doesn't have to be super long, but it could be kind of a short story that kind of explain, you make a costly mistake. What do you do? They can actually give an example of a mistake that they made as well. So round 4 is the real interview. So round 5. So round 4 is the mock interview. Round 5. Oh, again, I went to the results instead of there we go. So now the interview. Again, so I'm going through it super fast. You definitely want your students to watch the scenario video and all that kind of stuff. So are you guys seeing my inbox right now? I want to make sure that the screen sharing is still working. Okay, perfect. So now it's time for your interview, and they kind of help prepare for everything for him. So we're jumping right ahead, kind of skipping the introductory stuff. You definitely want your students to watch and read all that stuff. So we're going to, again, review the resources, all that kind of stuff. They have a new thing in the resources, interview best practices, where they'll actually be able to go and review like some best practices for being in an interview. And then again, this is another video call where they're actually interviewing for the job at Bowie. And that's another video call feature just like that. Now, right after they're done, we are going to craft a thank you email where they are thanking them for the interview, and then a reference post-interview email. So saying, letting your references know, or you're saying, hey, writing post-interview, writing emails to the references. So, and then the career readiness journal. So this one is a little bit different too. So, career readiness journal, respond to the interview questions. Another video call feature where they're able to go in and actually respond to the interview questions. So there's lots of really cool features and the video calls and things like that. So if we jump in here, now this is actually a little bit different. It's not like a video call. So what we're going to be doing for each interview question, you'll have 3 minutes to respond. It says make sure your camera and audio are ready before recording. So if we click start, it's going to start timing us. So the recording will automatically start in 17 seconds. So they'll get a question, and then please tell me about yourself. And then they go and they talk about themselves. They have about 3 minutes to do it. They don't have to take the whole 3 minutes, but they have that 3 minutes, and then they can stop it and submit the video. And they're going to do that 3 different times as they do that. So they could pause it, they could resume. It's going to sit there and process for a while. And then they're going to do a self-review where they go through. So it hasn't fully been submitted yet. Once everything is submitted, they're going to do a self-review and a peer review. So the self-review is watching that a replay of yourself and then giving yourself, they're given like a review slide bar saying, how good did you do at this? How good did you do at this? And give them kind of a self-review and then a peer review. So as their peers, as their classmates do that, they can actually go in and provide feedback. They can watch the video of the student and provide feedback to the student as well. So there's some really cool interactions. That self-review and that peer review is really, really good for kind of, especially a lot of students are anxious and a little bit nervous about actually, like, they can write down a resume and do all this stuff. They can write emails, but actually saying just from their own memory or just talking to a camera or on a computer can be a little bit more intimidating. So that practice is really good. And then they can go back and watch themselves and say, well, I can do better at this, and give them that chance to practice and then to get feedback from other students as well. So both of those options are available. And then after that, they run the simulation and we're on to the final round, which is prepare for a job. And again, for that last one, they'll be recording a video, doing a self-review and a peer review for the last round as well. So again, we have an inbox with all sorts of different information. They have a notifications hub to answer questions. So now, business communication principles. Again, you're going to join a video call. We're back talking to Shiloh. And he's going to kind of test you on, business communication and all that kind of stuff. So another video call with Shiloh, where they'll get questions from him and they select responses and they'll be graded on those responses. And they'll also be doing an elevator pitch. So they'll be crafting for Taylor an elevator pitch similar to the earlier ones where they make selections to create the best pitch for her. So and this is kind of like job introduction. So they've been hired at Bowie. Now they're kind of preparing for the job. They want to be able to practice an elevator pitch so when and kind of be able to talk about themselves more fluidly, so that when they meet their colleagues and other people they'll be working with, they can introduce themselves and feel more comfortable after crafting that elevator pitch. Is kind of an introduction to the job that she just got. And for the Career Readiness Journal, we're going to again be responding to interview questions. At the very beginning, I showed you that little graphic where we practice what she practices. We won't be doing, we're going to be doing more responding to interview questions in round 6 for our own Career Readiness Journal. So they'll respond to the interview questions. They'll be different from the last round. And again, self-review and peer review after those have been completed. So let me go back to 5 real quick. I should be able to show you what this looks like. Let me see. If we do the peer review and provide feedback, it will show me the video that I recorded, and then I can say, on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being poor and 5 being excellent, how well did your peer respond to the question? So how well did they respond? Oh, I think they did excellent. They did a really good job. And then written responses, what did they do well? How could they improve their response? Make it shorter, or different feedback that students can give to each other. They can save and close and get back to it, so that if they start it and don't finish it, it will save their work if they close that window and kind of go back and forth. Once they're completely done with all of round 6 and they run the round, that is the end of the simulation. So once the simulation is complete, each student will get a certificate of completion similar to our other simulations. And what date it was completed on. They'll either have a downloadable PDF and a copy that, or just copy a share link. They can post it on their socials, things like that. So that's kind of the rundown of the simulation. I'll let Andy hop back on and kind of lead the Q&A. I'll stick around to answer any other questions that I didn't catch in the chat because I was on a different screen for a while, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thanks, Joseph, so much. This was really awesome to see this simulation in action, and saw a lot of excitement from you guys in the chat. I think it's something that's really going to help out your students prepare for the business world. So for those who are wondering, how do we get this simulation? How can we use it? What you can do, I'm going to post it again, is you can go to the landing page and request access to the simulation itself. That'll let you go in like Joseph was, where you can go in and play around with it, maybe discover more features about it. And then you're also, if you want to get pricing, things like that, you should book a demo or book a walkthrough with your CC or your CSM, so your course consultant or your customer success manager. They'll be able to help you guys out with that. Also, for all those who have the high school all access pass, this is free. So another great one gets added to the all access pass. If you already have that with your school, you can start now playing with the sim with your students and everything. I see a question from Diane. Yes, I'm going to send out a recording of this afterward to all of you, and I'll send that all out. Right now, also, I'm going to post in the chat the LinkedIn assignment. So feel free to download that. It's kind of a LinkedIn student starter kit. And so what it does, it's a really cool assignment that goes through and talks to students and shows them how to have a successful LinkedIn account. LinkedIn is another one of those really big aspects of business, and getting ahead on networking and connecting and learning all those kinds of soft skills. And so this is kind of like a little walkthrough, a little kit that you guys can walk through your students with in a class period. Or you can actually have them go on if you allow laptop access and create LinkedIn accounts. If not, you can kind of have them write everything down. But yeah, it's, like I said, really exciting stuff. If you have the all access pass, this simulation is already for you. I have some questions here. One that maybe you could answer, Joseph. It says, can they download and save their cover message and resume?
I believe if they wanted to save it separately, it would just be a copy and paste. Let me double check that though, because I'm trying to remember. Like it submits it and it saves it. And they're able to, so like when they go back and look at their round results, they can look at their submissions and even copy and paste it from there. But it would be just kind of copying it and pasting it into a Word doc or a Google Doc or something like that. And that's something that our word processor is good in the simulation, but you can even have your students write it out, as an assignment and then paste that into the simulation or however you want to do it. But it won't download it, but it does save it so they can go in and copy it onto something they can save at any time.
Awesome. And then I got another question here that I can answer. It says, can any student use the Mimic Career Readiness program, or is it just for DECA? So this is, like I said, a program that all students can use. I know it can be very helpful. I know a lot of classes and different things that kind of take elements from this. And so again, if your school has the all access pass, it could be something that multiple teachers can use across in your entire school and everything. But other than that, I don't think I had or saw any more questions. But I'm also going to post in the chat. We're having another launch, yet another one on our new Mimic public speaking simulation. So I posted where everyone can go in and register for that, free as well. It'll be recorded. So if you can't attend it at that time, we'll send out an email with the recording. So feel free to do that. Go on the other landing page I sent you guys. Book a walkthrough with your course consultant. They'll be able to help you out with all those kinds of questions of price and actually getting it into your classroom. And they'll give you even more an in-depth walkthrough, more than Joseph was able to give us. And they can answer your specific questions to your specific class and kind of your class needs and everything around that. So I think that's that. I think we'll end this here and a little bit 15 minutes before the hour, but thanks everyone for coming in and hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys.